we have looter shooters, we have end game games. Just to make it really simple, I'm gonna use two titles as examples. I'm gonna use Destiny and I'm gonna use The Division. When Destiny first came out, there was there was a lot of problems. There was basically a lack of content. But down the line, things improved. From the get-go, if you wanted to reach max level, you had to do a raid. Or if you wanted the Flaming Head, you had to do a Nightfall. Now I know some of you might not remember that Flaming Head that you got from completing a Nightfall, but for some reason they removed it, and I feel like they shouldn't maybe have done that. Because if you play a game that contains a raid or an incursion, some people, me included, do it just to show off that, hey, I did the raid. I did the quote unquote hardest activity in the game. And I completed it. Now, Destiny still works that way, but they've also catered to the casual player. So you can get to max light without doing the raid, which is fine. I don't mind that. It's harder. It's a longer route to take, because if you do the raid, at least on heroic mode, you have a chance of getting 400 gear. So you'll get to max light, and you'll get to max light faster than you would as a casual player. Now, raids and incursions are aimed for the elite player. Not necessarily the elite of the elite, but the players that are well organized and they're good at the game, that don't mind a challenge. Now, when we move on to the division started off, well, let's face it, Division started off rocky. It's still rocky. It seems like they don't really know what direction they want to take. Now, I feel like the Division and Massive should go back to what they marketed the game as, and stop trying to cater to everybody, because you can't cater to everybody, because when you start making everybody happy, that's when things start going downhill. And that's what happened with the Division. We got the heroic missions dumbed down. They were difficult, they were hard, they were not impossible, but they got dumbed down so that more people could complete them. Then we had the incursions, and you had to do the incursions to get certain gear sets. But then that changed, and you could get the gear sets from pretty much any activity, because people got upset that it should be a choice. Now, the Dark Zone was marketed as the place to get the best loot. It's no longer the place to get the best loot, because you can get the best loot pretty much anywhere. And this is going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't feel like that's the way it should be. I feel like if you make a game and you market it a certain way, then stick to it. If you want to get a gear set, then you get your ass in that incursion or that activity that requires it for you to have a chance of getting a drop. Now, jumping back to Destiny, Destiny does good bringing people back. They have an incentive to come back because you got reset day. So me and a lot of other people, what we do is we'll jump on reset day, we'll do all of the nightfalls, we'll do the raids, and we'll do the other activities. And then, we might play something else for the rest of the week. Or we just mess around, do bounties and whatnot. But in the Division, there's no real incentive to just come back and grind or farm. Because they've tried to cater to everybody. And I feel it shouldn't be like that. If the Division had enough incentive for me to come back on a weekly basis, I probably would never have taken a long break or stopped playing. But there's nothing really there to just draw me back in every week or day after day. I enjoyed having the incursions where I went, all right, well, these reset every week. I have a chance of getting that gear set. I'll do it. If I fail, I'll come back next week. That's how I feel it should be. And I feel any game that contains endgame should have an incursion or a raid or an activity that just brings the whole community together. We got Destiny LFG, which is a fantastic site. It's died now, in the past time, but that's to be expected. And I feel like the Division could have an activity that would work kind of like a raid would, where you'd have agents just looking online to find a team to run through a really, really intricate and complicated activity. But it doesn't. It has the Dark Zone. I think the biggest problem with the Division, to be completely honest, is just it's too unbalanced. I know people are complaining that, hey, I don't want to go into the Dark Zone because if I go into the Dark Zone, I'll get killed. Well, that was the whole point of the Dark Zone. It's supposed to be a no man's land where anything can happen, where you're on your toes, and that's part of the charm. But the problem is, you don't have that build diversity. If you run up against somebody with Alpha Bridge, you're probably going to get fucked up if you're a casual player, because you're not putting the time that's needed into building the proper build. And truth be told, if Alpha Bridge is king, then you should probably go with Alpha Bridge, and that's a shame. There's not enough diversity. And I feel like gear sets ruined the game. They should never have brought out those gear sets before they fixed all the balancing issues. There is too much going on behind the scenes for them to have dropped the gear sets. They should get rid of them completely. And just have exotics and high end. Or if you have gear sets, have one talent that you unlock with maybe having a 2-set piece or a 3-set piece. And that's it. They're throwing too many variables into the equation. And I know I'm kind of contradicting myself, because that's part of the thing I enjoyed with the Division. But now it's just chaos. And what the devs at Massive really need to stop doing is listening too much to those YouTubers that have a very specific view on what they want. They want the PvP elements, but then you forget about the people that like the PvE aspect of the game. Now, I know some people say that the Dark Zone, that there should be a PvE Dark Zone, and I completely disagree. Because then again, we would be catering to everybody. You marketed the game as the Dark Zone being the place to get the best loot, then keep it that way. So instead of trying to change and drop a bunch of new content, retrace your steps and try and find where everything started going wrong. Because when the Division first came out, yeah, there were a lot of bugs. Destiny had problems when it came out. Rainbow Six had problems when it came out. Battlefield 4, for God's sakes, was a fucking disaster when it came out. But now they're pretty decent games. And I don't have a doubt in my mind that the Division, somewhere down the line, will be a good game. But the devs need to focus more on what their idea of the game was and stop listening to everybody else's idea. Now, a prime example was farming Lexington Event Center for Beret's chest piece. I would farm days on end to get that fucking chest piece, and I never did. My buddy got it and dropped it for me because he didn't want it, so good on him. I appreciate it. But now you don't have to farm it anymore. This is what I mean. People are complaining about drop rates, and now the drop rates are fucking ridiculously high. There's no sense of achievement when you get a drop or a gear set drop, for example. Because you can get them fucking anywhere, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to have to do certain activities to get certain things. That's the way it should be. They shouldn't let you roll attributes. You should get a gear set and it should be locked to the attributes it has. That would already give people incentive to continuously grind to try and get that god roll. Same thing goes for weapons. And when you go into the Dark Zone, it should be normalized. I really feel that way, because that way it would be more balanced. Not how much electronics you can put into your build so you can kill a bunch of people with your fucking sticky bomb. Yeah, I don't know. Normalize the Dark Zone. Don't let us roll everything. Don't let us get all the drops from any activity. Make us choose what we want to play. Do we really want that gear set? Is it worth playing that incursion? Or do I want that gear set? Well, then I'd have to go into the Dark Zone to get that. That would already make the game a little bit more enjoyable. I don't know. Those are my opinions. Why don't you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think and what you expect from a game that has an end game. Do you need a raid, an incursion type activity, or do you just want a PvP arena, maybe a battle royale scene? If you enjoyed this, don't hesitate to leave a like. It'd be much appreciated.